Be the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Enwa Jumadi bi ekoso ewo Alisa Hotel. Na Jumadi no the din anase edi aneda so eye 5th annual Constitutional Day Republic. Na Jumadi na se no owura Kissi Agyebeng eye special prosecutor edi Nsem-Pii to ya efa MPP amayoko no ene corruption ho nsem ho a Nsem-Pii TV enwa ye de sa ensem no ebesomwo. Na Jumadi na si na owura Afenyo Markins eye the minority leader in parliament was signed a photo mrashebedani esoso ede reply and someone Kissi Agyebeng kan yin nyina no so no enya de se mehwe ahehan na watimu agya sansem we ho trasa akọ wonsem na waka nyina no be fa no mako na matimi address e wo wankasa wanim na busua abra owura Afenyo Markins ehya asese okasa no eho utimu se Kissi Agyebeng eteho na wo bonu tinko timu se yes wisdom and ekasa abusia sansem ni nyina egu ahomaso a videos ahodo ka ho Nsem-Pii TV ye de ba besomo ti we de ye nche ho yenkwe na Afenyo Markins reply we instant for na wode ma owura Kissi Agyebeng no yenkonkuti mra na obehu se MPP amayiko no ampa ye wo azawoye yenkonkuti mra ye ba Nsem-Pii TV ensem ahodo ego pun so no ye besan e de kan ye da tifo ho.
I see the room packed. We have our professors, our police chiefs, all important personalities in the country have found their way into this important chamber because of the subject matter. I've had the benefit of reading what my respected brother and senior at the bar, Kissi Agyebeng, has shared with you, and I would attempt to add my voice by way of review to some of the issues that he raised. Indeed, he was spot on the issues he raised, particularly the legal reforms, constitutional reforms of our body politics and the laws that allows us to punish for corruption. But my question is very simple. Do we often narrow the issue of corruption and limit it to the political class, or perhaps we have to broaden it and look at it as part of the general life of all of us as a people? When a government is elected into office, its core function is to do business. To do business with who? The citizens. When I was in opposition 2013 to 2016, I often had businessmen sharing documents with me, and they will encourage you to speak about it on radio, corruption. But later on in life, when I understood how dark Accra was, I realized that those who don't get their contract through are the ones who complain of corruption. But those who get theirs through, they go to church in white and thank God. I've also had the opportunity of seeing former legislators, former ministers of state, and believe me when I tell you that some of them, when you see them, you ask, was he really in public life? Was he not a man that we thought he was so rich? So what happened to his money? I'm not here to hold brief for any politician, but you know them in your neighborhood. Perhaps the very few politicians who are entrepreneurs, who have practiced their profession, are the ones that you see them surviving. But many politicians, contrary to the view that they are so corrupt, are very poor. Especially legislators. You can see them after office and you would wonder. I believe that we can act collective and be very fair to the issues. In my constituency, when a chief visits me, the chief is not interested in my salary. He expects that as he is come, he must not go empty-handed. A constituent visits me, a pastor visits me, he expects that I should do something. So perhaps the demands of the office may cause a politician to be finding out how to survive or how to look for resources to meet a certain purpose. As part of our culture, don't we make ourselves vulnerable for what we say corruption? Because our cultural lifestyle, how we relate to ourselves in itself, makes the leader very vulnerable. And in so saying, the leader then would have to find a way of meeting that expectation. And in the process, if you don't have it on your own, or in your quest to make somebody happy, you end up acting wrongly. And that is a fact. I therefore encourage discussions by civil society, all aimed at cracking the whip on the political class. I'm one politician who is of the view that if you leave us loose with power, we may leave the room with empty coffers. So if somebody knows that on the radio somebody will be talking about his lifestyle, when he gets into office, he will be careful. I chaired Ghana Water Board. I tried some reforms. The reforms did not succeed. I saw Ghana Water sinking. The same public service machinery is used to fight good initiatives aimed at helping the system. And when it gets there, with the greatest respect, when a man does not have all the support, he often gives up. So it is not enough to talk about corruption, but we must look at a collective approach and how to deal with it. Because all of us, a lot of civil society organizations have their interest. For instance, let me take you through a practical situation. You have your source of funding, and that source of funding is involved in a problem somewhere, and this same source of funding is calling on you to intervene. Do you say because that source has sustained you all these years, you would stay back? But there may be an issue of corruption. So I see that sometimes the issue is more about people's interests than fighting the real canker. We cannot lay blame on one side. We have to be very collective and tackle it heads on. I've been hearing corruption against the business class, and also realize that politicians, when we come into office, our focus is who did business with who. And in the process, even Ghanaian businesses that are doing well suffer. But you have foreign entities that have gotten the same contract or even more or bigger in quantum. But because it's a foreign entity, there's nothing like corruption. Can we also look at that? Is it also born out of envy? How come Kodo Mensah Enterprise got this huge business? But if it is a foreign owned, there's nothing wrong. So we talk about cantonment, looting, if you go there, you see Turkish, you see Americans, you see British, you see foreign nationals mounting high-rise buildings. Is it that if you are a foreigner, there's nothing like a corruption tag? But if you are Ghanaian, you would have to answer questions. So people then end up getting their own alter egos, hide behind them, and then find a way to say that, oh, it is an Indian business. Oh, if that is so, then OSP will not come after you because the owner is a foreigner. So, ladies and gentlemen gathered here in this room, I've heard Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh reviewing Kissi Agyebeng's space. The laws are just not enough. It is our collective will, in my humble view. And in the process, as citizens, we must not ever give up. Because giving up would mean to lead us to a failed state. That cannot help us as a nation. Let us continue to crack the whip. Let us continue to be hard on the political class, but at the same time, other actors in that chain of corruption. Because if you leave the other actors and over-focus on the political class, dealing with the canker will still remain a big headache on our heads as a country. Thank you very much indeed.